We know that the investigation of Matt Gaetz started not under the Biden DOJ, but under William Barr, Trump's man, one of his most loyal soldiers. But he hasn't had much to say about Matt Gaetz, his legal troubles, or anything like that. Very little information about his involvement has actually come out. But we have something that is at least tangentially related to that. And it comes about in a sort of circuitous route, but stick with me. The US attorney for the Northern District of Florida, Larry Keefe, who was nominated by former President Donald Trump, apparently looked to open a wide-ranging probe into voter fraud in Florida just before Joe Biden was sworn in as president. The public integrity section at the DOJ's headquarters thought that the scope of the proposed investigation was too broad, because basically everything having to do with voter fraud in those times was. But anyway, that prompted Keefe to turn to Matt Gaetz, who in turn took Keefe's concerns to Trump, because remember, they're like peanut butter and chocolate. They go well together. Gaetz said that Trump then told White House counsel Pat Cipollone, who was in the room, to tell Attorney General William Barr that Trump believed Keefe's legal theory had merit. When Barr learned about Gaetz's conversation with the president, he was incensed. The Attorney General called the US attorney and gave him an earful, according to two people familiar with the call. Quote, "If I ever hear of you talking to Gaetz or any other congressman again about business before the department, I'm going to effing fire your ass," Barr told him. And the exact timing of that phone call wasn't clear, but it did take place in the late summer or early fall, as the department was also investigating whether Gaetz has had sex with a minor and broken federal sex trafficking laws. So, Bridget, we don't know for sure if it being Gaetz that was communicated to bothered Barr, or if it's just a general thing where he doesn't like information being given to congressmen, but that was a time where Barr must have been aware of the investigation, so it is possible that that plays into this.
That's what I'm thinking too, because for me, I mean, to be clear, I don't know, but for me, it's not one of the only things that makes sense. Why would Barr loves scheming, the idea of scheming to steal elections. Why would he not want to talk to Gaetz, who also loves scheming to steal elections? I have to assume that he must have known what was going on with this investigation.
Yeah. Maybe he was mad that he wasn't directly roped in, because like Barr would be totally down for it. Trump definitely would be down for whatever broad investigation of fake voter fraud you want. He would definitely be down. I don't know if maybe Barr was feeling a bit pushed to the side. We were sort of getting that impression last year, but it's also possible that Barr is one of those people who, like a lot of people around the country, absolutely despises Matt Gaetz because he's the worst, and didn't want someone leaking information about what Barr might have viewed as a legitimate investigation into Matt Gaetz's crimes. This is deep in the realm of speculation, but at this point we kind of have to speculate, because while there had been sort of a flood of leaks about the investigation early on, they've been very quiet about it. Matt Gaetz isn't really saying anything. Donald Trump is staying quiet. Barr definitely isn't saying anything. And while we wait for the results of whatever investigation is ongoing to come out, I'm curious. I don't know. And this is what we have to go on right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious. But I think the one thing that this report makes very clear to me is how early on they were interested in planting this seed of the big lie and thinking through the machinations of how they were going to, cast public doubt on the election results, which we know, as you said, like election fraud, widespread election fraud, just not a thing in this election or in other elections. And so for me, that was one of my big takeaways as wow, they were really planting this seed quite early.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they knew that was something that they should probably invest in, since Trump did such a terrible job of campaigning and terrible job of managing the pandemic. They could have avoided a lot of trouble involved with voter fraud by just doing a good job of governing, but it sounds difficult.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.